Are there people still suggesting to you in the parliamentary party that you should not let go of the ambition of being Prime Minister, of being leader again and being Prime Minister again?
Look, I just think everyone needs to pop a mogadon here. The answer to your question is no.
I've decided to contest the leadership.
Former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd says there's no truth to claims he's crunching numbers for a leadership comeback.
That's why I've decided to contest the leadership.
Kevin Rudd says speculation of a leadership challenge is just that, and he's not planning to snatch the top job back from Julia Gillard.
I've decided to contest the leadership.
I believe that we'll be under Prime Minister Gillard's leadership through until we contest the next election.
Trust is fundamental in politics.
And I'm very happy doing what I'm doing.
That's why I've decided to contest the leadership.
I support the Prime Minister.
That's why I've decided to contest the leadership.
Kevin Rudd has made light
Contest
of speculation
the leadership.
that he's planning a comeback.
Trust is fundamental in politics.
I would just think it would be a good thing if everyone seriously had a cup of tea and a Beck's and a long lie down.
OK, I've decided to contest the leadership of the Australian Labor Party.
It's been Groundhog Day again.
Does Kevin Rudd want his old job back?
You know, I'm a very, very happy little Vegemite.
Trust is fundamental in politics.
And a content Vegemite, being Foreign Minister of Australia.
I will resign as Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Is a farce. Clearly he's not playing as part of the team.
The Australian people regard this whole affair as little better than a soap opera, and under current circumstances I won't be part of it.
What he's going to do is to milk it for all it's worth. I can see it coming.
I must now return to Australia. Aircraft await.
He will have the cameras waiting for him to get on the plane. Then they'll be waiting for him off the plane. Then he'll go home because he's got to meet with the family.
I do have to go and have a few moments with Therese.
You have a nice cup of tea and sit down and talk about all these family things.
I want to have a cup of tea with Therese.
And then, ice over, maybe shake the short sauce bottle.
One of the overriding problems of the government that Kevin Rudd led is it was very, very focused on the next news cycle, on the next picture opportunity.
But I can promise you this, there is no way that I will ever be party to a stealth attack on a sitting Prime Minister.
I've decided to contest the leadership.
No way that I will ever be party to a stealth attack on a sitting Prime Minister.
I've decided to contest the leadership.
Kevin Rudd has clearly outlined to journalists in Canberra that he has a two-step approach to this. He's going to take the Paul Keating idea, and that is to get close enough to the Prime Minister to do her serious damage, bide his time for another couple of months, and then have another go.
People are sick and tired of the politics of division.
It's clear there's been a campaign being run by Kevin and his supporters for more than 12 months. Clear to everyone. And anyone who denies that is delusional.
On the key question of support for the government and support for the Prime Minister, I have maintained that throughout.
The Prime Minister says she absolves journalists of off-the-record confidentiality and urges any journalist to come forward who has evidence of her either undermining or plotting against you. Will you do the same?
Journalists should adhere to their own code of conduct, which you as a profession repeatedly say to me you are fundamental about upholding.
Can you rule out here and now that you ever leaked against Kevin Rudd when he was leader?
Absolutely, I can rule that out 100%. 100%.
Will you do the same?
Journalists should adhere to their own code of conduct.
And urges any journalist to come forward who has evidence of her either undermining or plotting against you. Will you do the same?
One face being shown to the Australian people, but a very different man in private.
Many of you have asked this morning what I would do if I did not succeed on Monday. I would go to the backbench and I would not challenge Julia a second time.
If Julia is returned on Monday, then she will have my unequivocal support between now and the next election.
You say that if you lose, Julia Gillard will have your support. But Paul Keating, of course, when he lost the first time round against Bob Hawke, said he only had one shot in the locker. Now, he was telling porkies. Why should anyone believe that you won't have another go?
Well, I've been very explicit about what I've said, and I will adhere to what I have said.
It's time, in fact it's well past time, that these wounds were healed. I dedicate myself to working fully for her re-election.
Here we go again.
Julia Gillard insists her job is safe, despite a fresh outbreak of leadership speculation.
Your supporters counting the numbers for another leadership?
Oh, give us a break. You know, give us a break. I said 12 months ago that I supported the Prime Minister, challenged the Prime Minister. That remains my position, and everyone should take a very long, cold shower.
Today I'm announcing that I will be a candidate for the position of Leader of the Parliamentary Labor Party. I do not seek to fudge the fact that I've changed my position.
You certainly are putting yourself out there. This week you publicly criticised mining tax, Indigenous policy. There was the Call Me Maybe video that went out on YouTube. Are you simply fueling the speculation by doing all of that?
Give us a break. It's time to jump in the ice bath. Give us a break. It's not happening.
I've changed my position.
And you know something? I'm pretty happy being where I am. And I'm very happy doing what I'm doing.
That's why I've decided to contest the leadership.
And you know something? I'm pretty happy being where I am.
I've changed my position.
A couple of weeks ago I said everyone should take a cold shower. Last Friday I said they should have an ice bath. It's time this debate was put into cryogenic storage. Frankly, it ain't happening.
I've changed my position.
Leadership speculation continues to surround Labor, even though Kevin Rudd has again ruled out challenging Julia Gillard for the top job.
I've said I won't challenge. I mean that. And guess what? I have changed my position on the leadership.
Nothing upsets me more lately than opening up newspapers on a daily or weekly basis and reading, anonymous quotes from senior Labor sources. What a bunch of gutless mogadon they are that they can't put their names to what they are saying.
He said at the time he would not challenge again, and he went further and said that if anyone else tried to challenge, he would effectively be a human shield between anyone who is challenging and the Prime Minister.
We have to get the people who are destabilising to stop.
Should Kevin Rudd tell his troops to pull back? Because it seems at this point he's the only one that can perhaps stop this destabilisation.
Well, he's said time and time again that he's not challenging. You've got to ask his troops why they keep promoting it.
She will have my unequivocal support.
Here's Mr Crean speaking now.
Something needs to be done to break this deadlock, to resolve the issue once and for all. I am asking her to call a spill of all leadership positions. This is an issue that has to be resolved. There's too much at stake.
There will be a ballot for the leadership and deputy leadership of the Labor Party at 4:30 today.
I believe in honouring my word. I've changed my position. Others treat such commitments lightly. I do not. I've changed my position. I will be adhering absolutely to the commitment that I gave. And guess what? I have changed my position on the leadership. I take my word seriously. I've given that word. I've changed my position, but I'm not prepared to dishonour my word. I've changed my position, which I gave Solomon. Trust is fundamental in politics. I will be a candidate for the position of Leader of the Parliamentary Labor Party.
I can't understand why all of this agitation would be on, including the need to bring it to a head, then for the pretender not to stump up.
In political life, we live by our word. We live by whether we honour our word. And the good people of Australia observe that over a lifetime. I have said time and time again that I would not challenge in the future Mogadon. Happy.
I support the Prime Minister. Cup of tea and a Beck's long lie down.
Happy little Vegemite.
Resign. Soap opera. I won't be part of plain speaking. Promise you this. No way. No way. Stealth attack.
I've decided to contest the leadership, restoring trust. Unite. Unequivocal support. Cold shower. Ice bath.
Cryogenic storage.
Not happening.
It ain't happening.
I've said I won't challenge. I mean that.
Gutless.
Mogadon.
Human shield.
Adhering absolutely, seriously, solemnly my word. I believe in honouring my word. I have changed my position on the leadership. Had I done the reverse and simply gone out there and challenged, each and every one of you here today would quite rightly have attacked me for a loss of credibility for having walked back on my word. I've changed my position. I'm announcing that I will be a candidate for the position of leader of the Parliamentary Labor Party. We, in the political life of Australia, are judged by our words. We are judged by whether we honour our words. And for me, this is a matter of deep conscience. I have changed my position on the leadership. Climate change is the great moral challenge of our generation.
Now he has postponed the ETS for 3 years at least.
If you really believe that climate change is the greatest moral and economic challenge of our age, then you wouldn't retreat, would you? Because if you did, people might begin to wonder what you actually believe in.
That's the problem. He sees it all through the prism of Kevin.
It's time for the Australian Labor Party to unite under Prime Minister Julia Gillard. Unite totally. For myself, the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, has my 100% support. And as I've said in a written statement earlier today, there are no circumstances under which I will return to the leadership of the Australian Labor Party in the future. I have changed my position on the leadership. It's time to draw an absolute line under it. I've changed my position. This, I think, is important, not just for the party's future, which I care about deeply, and for the country's future as well. I think my words speak very plainly for themselves in the statement I put out, and being absolutely clear-cut that there are no circumstances whatsoever under which I'd return to the leadership in the future. I've changed my position. The time now is to bind up the wounds. It's really important that we bind up the wounds.
Kevin Rudd has given what he's calling a 100% promise that he will never again try to steal the Labor leadership and the lodge of Julia Gillard.
Mr Rudd today gave a 100% promise under no circumstances would he attempt to return to the leadership again.
Here we go again. Again.
Mr Rudd insists the picture opportunities aren't about building momentum for another tilt at the leadership.
I am not a candidate for the leadership, and I've said equally plainly that I don't see any circumstances under which I would return to the leadership.
If you like us, you're sick to death of all the leadership speculation surrounding the Labor Party, but you can't ignore it. It's front page news yet again today.
So, Kevin, you said there are no circumstances under which you will return to the leadership. Will you honour your word?
Call me old-fashioned, but the way in which these things are normally done is a challenger approaches the leader of the Labor Party and asks them to call a ballot for the leadership. You shake hands and then a ballot is held. That hasn't happened. In those circumstances, I did ask Kevin Rudd for a leadership ballot, and in that leadership ballot, Kevin Rudd assessed he had so little support that he did not choose to contest it. It is my intention to call a ballot for the Labor leadership at 7 p.m. tonight.
This issue has not left you throughout this parliamentary term. This is the third time it's coming to a head. Has Kevin Rudd really been an honest broker when he says he's not interested in challenging?
I believe in honouring my word. We are judged by whether we honour our words. And for me, this is a matter of deep conscience. I think my words speak very plainly for themselves in the statement I put out, and being absolutely clear-cut that there are no circumstances whatsoever under which I'd return to the leadership in the future.
Good evening. Here we go again. Federal Labor MPs will vote in 2 hours on who should be Prime Minister.
The Rudd camp believes it has got the numbers, but even they are not being overly bullish about that. One told me that he believes that there are a number of people who are still completely undecided. Their votes could be critical and they might not even make up their minds until they get into that leadership meeting at 7 o'clock.
Today I'm announcing that I will be a candidate for the position of Leader of the Parliamentary Labor Party. For the nation's sake, I believe it's time for this matter to be resolved. I have changed my position on the leadership. I accept full responsibility for my previous statements on the leadership. No retributions, no paybacks, none of that stuff. It's pointless. It's old politics.
There was a spill for the position of leadership. I can announce the result. It is Kevin Rudd, 57 votes, Julia Gillard, 45 votes.
Interestingly, Kevin Rudd has promised a kinder, gentler brand of politics after executing one of the most brutal and drawn-out revenge attacks this place has ever seen.
In recent years, politics has failed the Australian people. There's been an erosion of trust. In fact, it's been holding our country back. And all this must stop.